Okay, so we're now recording. This is the Valley Green Energy Working Group regular meeting. Communities that are working on intermunicipal community choice aggregation, the city of Northampton, town of Pelham, and town of Amherst. And with that, we can get started. We start with our, let's see. I'm going to start with our review of the minutes. So I'm going to post them. I apologize that I was so late in getting the minutes and the draft scope of work to you all. I'm sorry, that was last minute. So I'll share them on screen. You can we have plenty of time, so we can take an opportunity to review them then. So just give me a minute and I will share my screen. Okay, so we'll just go review these. Take your time. I didn't edit them at all, so these are just the raw minutes. So if there are edits, please let me know as we go along. I do have one suggested edit. I'm not sure what this comment here, Stephanie wonders if staff time is worth the return. I'm not sure in the context of this effort. I don't know what that exactly is referring to or what my comment was referring to, but I don't think it's about the program itself, so I'd like to strike this from the minutes.
Yeah, I remember what you were saying, the outreach time of staff time to go and do all the analysis of bills that might not result in any usable data anyway. That was the issue you were saying was probably not worth the time.
Okay, thank you, Ben. I'm just going to strike this from the minutes then.
So do we know anything about the climate leadership grant at all that we signed into, Stephanie?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
So we can sort of talk about that after. We'll
Okay.
just discuss that in the updates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and again, I think to that point, I'm not clear. I think what I was suggesting was that we could look for some kind of grant opportunity. we could look for a grant opportunity to try to work together to get some kind of energy manager for maybe both our communities. I
Mhm.
think that's what I was referring to there. So not specifically with the climate leadership grant.
Okay,
That's a different, we wouldn't be using that for,
okay.
I know that, and then Amherst has no plans to use it for a collaborative effort that way. We're just trying to get our buildings decarbonized. So I don't think. I think I'm gonna change this, maybe change this to, Stephanie suggested a grant opportunity for community planning. Does that
Mhm.
sound,
Sure.
I don't know how exactly it's supposed to go.
So the comment that I made about the VGE track, in the last sentence, I think it's should be used that once the JPE is up and running.
All right, yes.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve as edited.
I second that motion to approve as edited.
Okay.
thanks, okay, and just for a formal vote, I'm going to stop sharing. Sorry, my screens. There you go. All right, so, just for a formal vote to approve the minutes, Bob
Yes.
and Ben,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes, so minutes are approved. Great, thank you so much. And thanks for your patience for reading through those. So moving on, I think we have, a public comment, but I don't think we have any public. We do not. So we have no public for comment. All right, so with that, we will go to our Valley Green Energy updates. So I have a few. And what I thought I would do is also share the draft scope of work is just part of the updates, and I'll give you an update about that in a second. But let me just get through the general ones from Mass Power Choice of where we are. So first, I wanted to report that there was an issue on the Mass DOER website with a link to Valley Green Energy. I just happened to go to the DPU site and I just wanted to scroll through, and when I clicked on Amherst, instead of going to Valley Green Energy, it went to the Western Mass Group page. So I don't know why. I don't even know how they got that. But I checked for Pelham and Northampton and it was the same link. So I reached out to Marlena and Paul and asked them if they could get that fixed for us. So they did. So it is now corrected.
Okay.
So it is now Valley Green Energy Working Group and not the Western Mass Group. It was weird. I don't even know how they came to that. So with all the information that was sent. So anyway, that's been corrected, just so you know. Then our annual report is due to be released and submitted to DPU, but there was a problem with some Eversource data that Mass Power Choice was working with Eversource on getting corrected. So I think they're finalizing that issue, but once that report is finalized and going to be submitted, they'll send it to us. So they did request an extension and I believe they got one. So we'll get that, that annual report. We'll share that with the group once we get it. So, the automatic enrollment notifications have now resumed in Amherst and Pelham. If you recall, they were put on hold while the price differential was substantial between the Eversource base rate and the Valley Green Energy base rate. So now that's resumed. There was never a pause in Northampton's notification. So ours is resuming, and all three communities, communications will go out tomorrow, the 11th. So they're all going to be sent at the same time. And Mass Power Choice will send us information about the number of mailings and the files. They'll submit the files for us in terms of what they sent as well.
And what is mailing again?
This was the notification about automatic enrollment.
Oh,
So for new customers who are on basic service for the utilities, they automatically get opted in. So we were just sending them the notification that they were being opted in. Or, like, not we, but Mass Power Choice is sending it on our behalf. So Northampton their notifications were going out all along. Ours weren't because Eversource had such a huge differential in the rate. We just weren't doing the notifications at that time.
I have a question.
Sure.
Can you hear me? Does that mean that Eversource has a new rate?
We do have a new rate and it's still a little better than Valley Green Energy, but the differential is not as big.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, and then, let's see. I think that was the only updates from Mass Power Choice.
so how often does that go out, Stephanie?
I think they just have been periodically sending them, I don't know the regularity. I don't know if it's monthly that they've been sending them out. But I know that ours were paused just until the new rates were established. And even though our rates are still a bit higher than Eversource right now, there's much less of a price difference than there was the last time. So that was, 6 months ago? So they may go monthly or they may go bi-monthly. I'm not really sure. It's just that ours weren't going out at all. And now they are.
And we can choose to do that, I take it. Not notify.
Yeah, Mass Power Choice, they were saying, that it was, at this time, it was probably better to just let people opt in and the notifications for automatic enrollment would go out when the next time the rates changed. I think they're probably just, at this point, going forward, my guess is we just send them out. I don't think we'll always choose to not. I think it was just the timing was really unfortunate because we had just launched the program. So, I mean, if that's something we feel that they should do regardless, we certainly can do that. But, it's also an additional cost too. So. Are there any other questions pertaining to Mass Power Choice? Okay, great. So moving on, I did draft a scope of work for securing someone to draft or some entity to draft a business plan for the JPE. I sent the draft to Ben and Bob, who reviewed it. Bob added some additional suggested information, which was added to it. I then took that scope of work draft and sent it to Paul Gromer, asked if he had any comments and he had said to me, if you send it to me, I'll forward it along to folks that I think might be, interested in pursuing, you know, a proposal for our response to the RFP. It hasn't gone out yet. The RFP hasn't gone out yet. But after I sent it to Paul, he wrote back to me and basically said, this looks interesting.
Okay.
I don't know anybody that I can forward this to.
Wow.
So, which I thought was very interesting. So I think I'll share it with you now. I'll share it on screen now. We can take a look at it. I don't know how much more we want to add to it. I don't know if you all, when we take a look, will feel there's more edits. If you certainly want, we can put this on the agenda again for next time and we can come back to it after if you want to sit with it a little more. But I'm just gonna do a kind of a run through fairly quick. We don't have to spend a lot of time really on it, but I'll share my screen and we can take a look.
And Stephanie, while you're doing that, what do you make of the fact that Paul couldn't identify anyone? Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it's something kind of unique that we're trying to do.
Uh,
And, first of all, can everybody see that? Okay,
Yeah.
do I need to make it bigger?
well, all of us can make it bigger on our own.
Okay, all right. So I don't, I mean, I feel like if there's anyone who's well connected, it's Paul Gromer.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so I was really a bit surprised, but I mean, we're asking for the business plan piece to be developed. So at this point, I sort of feel like I think maybe we just move forward with it and we put it out and we see. We may or may not get any responses. So I think we just kind of go from there. Maybe the pool of people that we're looking to draft a business plan isn't necessarily specifically someone who works in that sector. It could be just someone who's just specifically very sort of business minded. I don't know. I feel like we'll go through this because I do think there's a benefit to having someone who has knowledge about aggregations to help us with this. So, anyway, I'm just gonna sort of go over, just that I, drafted the introduction. And again, we can put this on the agenda for next time, so I don't feel like we have to, if people want to weigh in and have comments or edits for next time, we can add that to the agenda. I'm just trying to give kind of an overview of what we did this time. So I looked at the JPE draft document itself. So I pulled information from the things that we've worked on, the language that we worked on. I pulled a lot of that. I also looked at just putting together a business plan and what we would specifically want in terms of the format of a business plan. So, I mean, I think, again, when we were looking to overview and objectives of what we're trying to do, these kind of capture the objectives of the JPE. So again, I'm not sure if, I think I was trying to convey what the JPE is trying to do.
Mhm.
But in terms of a business plan, I don't know if this project overview and objectives should have been more specific to the development of the business plan itself. Does that make sense? Like it's really like in my head while I was trying to do this, it's a bit confusing because we have this JPE model that we're trying to do, but what we're trying to do is develop the business plan, which is more sort of just the structure of how it operates and functions. So it's less of its principles, if you will, and more of just the day-to-day, what happens? How do we,
Yeah.
how do we have someone operate on a daily basis?
Well, I think, Stephanie, you have made a great separation here. The project overview
Yeah.
objectives clearly states that this is about what the broad goals of the JPE.
Mhm.
Then it goes on to say that a business plan is needed. So
Yeah.
these are not the overview and objectives of the business plan, but we're telling potential applicants that, well, this is what this organization is about. And I think it's perfectly appropriate.
Okay,
I
thank-
agree 100% with that. This is, you're not going to get somebody who wants to do this and do a good job unless they know what they're trying to accomplish.
Right.
And it's great.
Okay, all right, thank you. Well, I'll just keep scrolling a bit for people to have a chance to sort of just read it. And then we can come back and discuss it a little more if needed.
See, this is where you get really specific about the business plan itself, and that's great. This is very
Right.
detailed, and I think it's clearly laying out the expectations for the business plan.
If it is difficult to find somebody who to get this in front of the right eyes, for people who would want to bid for this, you are in Amherst. And Eisenberg, like, this would be a great project
Mhm.
for either a single student or an MBA team that needs a semester project. They do have a green business certification, something or other that's like got the particular focus. And if we're not in a tremendous hurry, which we're not because we don't have a pile of money yet, we could get in touch with whoever is the right person at Eisenberg these days, who I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
And then this gives them the summer to start planning it as one of the projects for their students.
What a great idea, Ben. Wow.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, so Adele, you had a question, go ahead.
Adele, you're muted.
Let me see if I can unmute you, Adele.
Okay. I also think it might be a good idea to send it to Maggie Downey.
Okay,
I don't know who she is, but I think it's fine. But can anybody say who Maggie Downey is? And
yes, she is kind of oversees the Cape Light Compact.
Okay.
Is kind of the primary person who works on that effort. So, and she was instrumental in, I think, its development as well. So I can reach out to her and have a conversation with her about it too.
She is the only, Cape Light Compact is the only other aggregation that has a JPE.
In Massachusetts.
In
Yes.
Massachusetts, so that's good point.
Yeah, and again, I think and I keep coming back to this, is I understand why it was important for them to feel that communities needed more protection under the JPE, but there are a lot more communities involved in that structure, and I feel like I just don't think we're ever going to get that big. I just don't think we're ever going to get that big. And it's not in a pessimistic kind of negative way. It's just, I think the reality of where they are and their very unique circumstances are a bit different than ours. So I don't know. I mean, I'll talk to her and I'll see what she thinks about this too. I'm happy to have her weigh in. Thank you for that suggestion, Adele. This is something I had never really heard of before, the SWOT report or SWOT analysis. Are you all familiar with that? because I wasn't.
I can
It's-
explain that if no one
Yeah,
else.
go ahead, Bob. That's great. Please.
Oh, Bob's can, okay.
Or whoever.
Oh,
I don't know.
no.
I didn't hear who said it.
It's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and costs. It's a 4x4 or a 2x2 grid. And basically, it's easiest to see if it's visual.
You want to, if
Um,
you have an example, you can.
Well, I don't know. Let me see if I can share a. Oh, no, I can't do that from here.
Here, let me, if I stop sharing, you're a presenter, you should. be-
Whiteboard. Here we go. New whiteboard.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing so you can share.
Okay. There we go.
I'm going to transfer to my computer now.
Okay.
So
We just lost electricity here, so I'm just back in.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
okay, so let's see. Here's text. Okay, so strength. Sorry, it's a little slow here. Weak. Yeah. Um, right. So you've basically got this grid, right? Yes, I'm terrible at drawing, especially when it's fast, right? But that's basically what we have. And then you identify for all the characteristics that you're about your plan. You say, okay, so what are the things that are really strong? And you say, okay, here's something that is a strength. And sorry, did I say cost?
It said,
Opportunity
it was, strengths,
threats.
weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
Yep,
which
sorry.
happens.
Yeah, sorry, threats.
Okay.
So basically, if you have a strength, what threatens your strength, right? So for each of these items that's in your business plan, is this a strength that also represents an opportunity? I don't know. I'll use a square just for, no, that's annoying. Whatever, are you here? Right? So for each one, each characteristic, you try to do an analysis that says, is your strength an opportunity, or do you have a weakness, but it's an opportunity? If you were to do something, then you're able to push. You want your entire plan to end up into the strengths and opportunities box, right?
Mhm.
So you figure out, what would I have to do to push my weakness? What opportunity is available with my weakness that turns it into a strength? What strength do I have that is threatened? And then what do I have to do to remove the threat to that strength so that it becomes an opportunity, right? And then you really start to worry about, what are the characteristics of this plan that are a weakness and that are also a threat to the entire plan, right? And so it's basically just a formalized analysis of that 2x2 grid.
Okay. I think we get the gist.
Yep.
That's great. I'm gonna continue sharing then from where we left off. So that was here, the SWOT report. So I did include a timeline so that, when we do hire someone to draft the business plan, that we have it completed in 6 months so that it doesn't drag on for forever.
Can you share it again, Stephanie, please?
I'm sorry. Sorry about that. I didn't do the additional click, sorry. So yeah, I was just saying this timeline, was saying that, to make sure that we have the analysis within 6 months. I think it's one of those things too, where, we'd have to make sure that it should be a realistic time frame for someone, but if it isn't, that would have to be a negotiable with the contract.
so the person that we would be hiring would not be producing. I guess I don't understand and I'm not, I'm not looking at it because I'm looking at our minutes, but, so he or she would be doing this SWOT analysis, pending as part of putting together the business plan, or how does that work?
That's a part of the business plan. It's a feature of the business plan. Like it's so it lays out how the business would work. And it looks at the strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and what be potential threats to the success of implementing that business plan. So it sort of looks at what it's laying out and what are its, it's sort of a way of trying to identify the best path towards a successful operation. Right? So it's identifying things that like, here's how it's laying out how we would operate. Is there a potential downside to doing a particular thing that might be better done in a different way?
Mhm.
So it's really sort of analyzing what it's proposing. So, I mean, if the business plan is done well, I think to Ben's point, what he's trying to say is when we get that business plan, that SWOT analysis should have everything falling within the strengths and opportunities category rather than the threats and weaknesses, right? So it's sort of like an analysis of what it's proposing. So someone's not going to submit a plan that has everything in a SWOT analysis over in threats and weaknesses, right? If they submit a plan with a SWOT analysis that shows up that way, then that just tells us that's a bad plan.
Or I mean, so a responsible analysis is going to say, look, you can start this and but you should be aware that here are the risks. It's an awareness
Mhm.
thing, and then you might be able to mitigate the risks financially. You might be, you don't know what it's basically looking at your system. And the best SWOT analysis is iterative. So they say, well, if you did it this way, here would be your risks. Here be the things. Now that we've identified that, we say you should also add this component to try to make things a little better. And then they reanalyze and you say, well, now, you have fewer risks, but you still have this, nothing's ever going to be perfect. So it's giving you a sense of where should you put your money into risk mitigation? Where should you put your, whatever. So it's, like, I don't think it would be right necessarily to say that any business plan that has all components, that doesn't have all components in that opportunities and strengths box is, anything other than that is a failure. But it's just kind of generally an analysis of where should we be worried? And it might be like, here's your business plan. It's the best I can do. Do you guys really want to take this risk?
Hmm.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, if it does fall in that, yeah, I guess there's two ways of looking at it, that it's not necessarily a good business plan, or it's just maybe not a good business. If it sort of ended up with that bias towards weaknesses and threats. So,
I mean, I
So-
have failed to start several businesses. And in most cases, it probably was good that I did, right? Because they probably wouldn't have panned out. I also started one and it also didn't work out very well.
That power back. No.
I wanted to suggest an addition to the reporting, that be that it be specified that it's not just maybe it's the subhead is reporting, collaborating, that it's, the meetings with this contractor would be to discuss as progress is made, so that they're getting answers to questions and developing something that we want. As opposed to something they think we want.
I
Right.
think it wasn't, I don't think that we would do that necessarily with whoever we hire. It's likely that I would meet with them regularly, and then I would bring drafts and information to our meetings. We're not gonna, because there's a cost associated with that, so we're not gonna add an additional layer of that communication. The communication would be through me, and I would, of course, get anything, any comments, any concerns. We would get drafts to the group. We would convene, discuss them. They would go back to the consultant or whoever we work with. And we may have a meeting, but it wouldn't be regularly. You know, I would definitely have no problem having them meet with us at least once, like
I
maybe
see.
once at the beginning and once at the end. We could do that, but it wouldn't be regularly. But
Okay.
I want to keep that, you know, as, I'm just making a note for myself for at least 2 meetings with the group. Okay. So moving on, we were getting to minimum qualifications. So minimum qualifications of whoever we would work with. And these are, so these are the kinds of things that when we're doing an RFP for, some of this is somewhat formulaic from the procurement side, where they'll have a range of like how you rate the responses have to do with like the number of years someone might have experience. So they might be highly advantageous if the person has 5 years of experience, advantageous if they have 3 years of experience, not advantageous if they have less than a year. So there's kind of a scale to which each of these things would be given weight, you know, depending on the experience of the responder. And that's ultimately how you sort of get to your, or one of the ways and pathways in which you get to your choice in the end. It's like who, you know, who has the who's the most qualified to do this, right? That's how we got Mass Power Choice. So just letting you know that each of these would have like an additional, like, it would break it out into like the experience as a rating system. And Bob, I think, is this is the information that you added, correct?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, because I think I told you we've lost power here, and so I'm now using my phone with very, very, very bad reception here. So I've never used it this way on this. Anyway, so yes, these are the criteria that we, you know, that I suggested based upon actually some help from artificial intelligence. When they analyzed this, the work that we wanted to have done.
Yeah.
And yeah, so my sense is that this is, you know, the people that we want to send this to, we talked about this person, Maggie, we've talked about somebody at Eisenberg. I don't know, it looks to me like we should just send it off and see what they say.
So, oh, send it off as is.
I think Darcy has a hand up.
Okay, I can't
and
see it, so.
She's,
Yeah, no, I was just going to say a couple things. One is that back in the day, we used a woman as a consultant who was from Lean Energy. And she was really good, and I can't remember her name. I'm sure I can find it if I look it up. But, you know, it seems to me that if we're doing something unique, and there's a lot of other states that are doing something similar, that we should also draw on some, you know, like a national consultant, who you know, I mean, there's tons of business plans that you can see from California and other states, JPE business plans. So it seems like it might make sense to look at that.
Okay, the only thing for me is I don't know about the procurement requirements. That's definitely not my strength, so I would defer to talking to the folks who do that in town to make sure that, I don't see why there'd be an issue, but I just want to make sure that that wouldn't be a problem. Bob, do you have any sense of that, given your role for Pelham?
I don't actually. No, I'm sorry, I don't.
I mean, I've never been involved in a sort of national search for a contractor so I'd have to ask.
Yeah, I don't know if we paid for our consultants early on when we were meeting in Northampton. And we had consultants from different groups that came. She came during that process. I think they might have just done it voluntarily.
Yeah, some of it might have been volunteer. Also, we did, if you recall that, Wayne Fiden secured some funding
Right.
from the USDN network, which is a national network. So that funding would allow that, but we have, what we're using is the remainder of the earmark. So I'm just not sure, like, these are the kinds of subtleties with procurement that I know I've gotten myself in trouble enough with certain things to know that I need to definitely ask. Even if it seems like something that should be straightforward, it's often not, so I just want to make sure. But at the very least, I mean, we can reach out to Maggie and Eisenberg at the very, very least. And if you can get that lean consultant name to me, because I don't
Yeah, yeah.
recall that person at all, so if you could
Yeah,
send that to me.
I'll look it up. And the other thing is that I'm just wondering if during this process, you've all like checked in with your executives to make sure that if this process did end up being a positive with an analysis saying, yes, go for it, that they would then be on board because they all have to sign off on this.
Yeah, I think when we get to that point, then we'll go from there. I don't want to anticipate ahead of time. I would assume that if the report is positive and it seems like a viable thing to do, I don't see why they wouldn't. So I'm just gonna refrain from committing them until the report's done.
But they're okay with our paying for a consultant to do this.
Well, the funds were allocated specifically for this effort, the earmark. So they are specifically for doing this kind of thing. So I don't think there's any issue with us moving forward with that at all.
But the executives know about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I've talked to Paul. If not, I would certainly do it again, but I can bring it up to him again. I don't recall. He's been, basically, I think he knows we're just moving along in this process. So as long as it's moving in a direction and this is more information. So I don't think he has any problem with us. I'm not sure, Darcy, if you just mean like even just pursuing this business plan at all. I'm just confused.
I just want, like, I feel like we spent a lot of time on this already for a few years getting the JPE draft and I would hope that the executives were on board with us now going back and moving forward with this initiative because it was stopped already once. And so we don't want it to be, we want them to be on board with what we're doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't think we're doing anything that our executives are not on board with. I mean, that's why we already have, we've already been talking about this for a while. So I think if you're saying that, I don't know if you're specifically talking about the business plan piece or the JPE in general.
Oh, well, the business plan for a JPE, it's committing to going forward with the JPE.
It's
And
not though. It's not, Darcy. I want to be very clear about that. The business plan is to allow us the information to look at and see if this is a viable business model, right?
Yeah.
And so they will get the report and look at the report and then they will commit. I mean, if it looks like a viable plan, I don't see why they wouldn't want to go forward with it, but that's what I'm saying about not committing to them one way or the other. What it's committing to is doing the business plan so that they have information that gives them an opportunity to make a stronger decision one way or the other. It's an informed decision, right?
okay,
So, yeah. Did that help? Does that answer your question?
yeah,
Okay.
So are we clear then that we're going to go forward and share this document with the folks at Eisenberg and with Maggie?
Yes, I think that seems like the next,
And
that's
post
the
on
next.
Combis, right?
Yeah, it'll get listed on Combis probably.
Exactly. Just like, I mean, basically any outreach, because you don't know who it'll be. And it may be nobody, but I do like either the Maggie idea or the Eisenberg idea of it. Yeah, who knows who will show up.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, I think. So in my mind, the process that I was hearing was to reach out to Maggie and Eisenberg for feedback on this draft before we then put it out. And I was thinking, because then it would go out on Combis, or what other networks we can get it out on, we would just distribute it broadly. And again, procurement does that, but they typically will ask me, are there specific places you want this sent to? Are there specific firms or entities that you want to make sure they receive a copy of this? So again, if there are, organizations or people we think of that we think might be interested in actually responding to it, then you should definitely let me know. But I'm not gonna submit it to procurement until I check in with all of you. Like, it's not gonna happen before the next meeting,
I see.
so. Adele, go ahead. Sorry, Ben, I'll get back to
I
you.
didn't know if Ben meant that the final should be sent to Eisenberg or that the draft should be sent to Eisenberg.
Okay,
So
Ben.
I think what I meant was I wouldn't send a draft to Eisenberg because we don't even know who to send it to, and
Okay,
why would they edit it for us? It's not, if you're just looking for editing help, yeah, just send it to somebody you trust. And if Maggie is the person, fine. I'm thinking more in terms of if we don't get a response, if we're hearing from Paul that, geez, you're not going to get a response, then on a separate track from this thing, one could share it with Eisenberg and say, do you think this would be a project that you'd like to take on? And if they say yes, and either we don't get a response or we don't like the responses we got, then we have this other option. I
okay,
mean,
so
I don't think
so
they
we
wouldn't
wouldn't be
bid.
sending it as a proposal to them. And initially, we would just be going to them if we don't get responses.
Well, I guess I believe in running my plan B while my plan A is in action. So I would just run it by them informally and say, find out who at Eisenberg would likely be the one supervising this type of a student project, if that's what it was for, these are MBA students. And basically find out, is it even a viable plan B? I don't know. And then if it is a viable plan B, how enthusiastic are they? And if it turns out they're like, yeah, this is something we really, really want to do, maybe we say, well, we trust you and we're just not even going to bother advertising. We'll get it for free.
Which
We
I
need
doubt.
to at
Get it
the
for free.
At the very least, we need to know what their timing is, because students are probably lining up their projects for the next semester this summer.
Probably. That's why I would say reach it out. Again, there's the legwork of finding out who at Eisenberg is the right person. Ask them if they likely would be able to assign it to some students, or they know some students who'd want to take it on. That's going to take some time, so kind of have that running in the background and see how far we go with it. Meanwhile, also get someone to review the draft if it's going out as an RFP for somebody who's, a professional already, and basically just see which thing hits.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I just, though, what happens if, if we do get responses for the RFP to the RFP and we got interest from a student, then do we? And I have to say that I don't know about how Northampton does things, but even with engaging students, there's still a process that we have to go through. It didn't, years ago, I can tell you, like, you came up with an idea, you just went and did it. And it's not that straightforward anymore. Procurement is, even for engaging someone for free, I don't know if we would have to make it available to other entities and like to send it. So it couldn't
Yeah,
go to Eisenberg.
you do.
So-
And then, yeah, so if we get, so if Eisenberg doesn't, before we put it on Combis, Eisenberg says, yes, we want this, we really, really want this. You've never publicized it. You're getting a free service. I think you'd run it by your whoever's your chief procurement officer. We
Yeah.
have one, and he might say, oh, you should at least advertise it, but you can advertise that you want it for free.
Yeah, okay, so
And
let me,
and that would be a different thing. But if we find out, like, I wouldn't want to hold off on that, on getting ready to advertise the other one. So as soon as Eisenberg says, no, we're not doing this for you, we haven't lost any time in getting the RFP ready for somebody who was going to charge money to do it and bid
Yeah.
the whole process.
all right, so I'm thinking then it's just the opposite. So starting with the Eisenberg school before doing the RFP.
Yeah, and of course we have to determine whether we believe that they are going to complete a project that we agree is of high enough quality, that it's actually a good decision tool. That we'd have to talk to them and find out what they are proposing to produce, and if we think their track record is good, et cetera.
So I hear you, Ben, and I think this is my concern. Like, I almost feel like I would, quite honestly, in my mind, it would make more sense to just go forward with the RFP because we have some funds available.
Good enough.
And I think go forward with the RFP, and I think I liked what you said earlier, was like, if we don't get any responses,
Mhm.
then we go to Eisenberg, and I know timing,
It may push it off a
it
semester.
might put it off a semester, but we are not in a position to move forward with this thing tomorrow anyway. We're just not.
Exactly. Yeah.
I can tell you, because there's still an amount of staff time that's gonna be involved in this, and
Agreed.
I'm a department of one, and even with the support of Bob and Ben and working with our communities, it's still a lot, so.
Yeah. 100%
just-
agree.
Okay, is everyone okay with that? Like, does that sound okay to just move forward with the RFP as we had stated before, Bob?
Yep, I'm okay with it.
Okay, good.
I
All right.
don't see the advantage of running it by Maggie.
I don't either, honestly. I don't think we really, I think we've had her input as far as, what we needed from her. I think it's just another layer and another time suck, honestly. So I
Agreed.
think I'd prefer not to at this point. And I'm glad you said that, Andra, because I was thinking it in my head. So thank you. So I think, yeah, we just go ahead and just move this RFP forward. And so I would work with our procurement. So typically what happens when I have a scope of work like this is I will submit it to procurement. This is only the scope of work. There's more to it that's just very formulaic and boilerplate. But they will flesh it out more, and I will submit the final draft of the RFP to everybody before we post it on Combis. So I'll make sure that everyone gets to see what the sort of total package looks like before we submit it. Is that good? And Ben and Bob, you might want to run it just by your people too, just to make sure they're okay with it.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
I don't have people, Stephanie, it's me.
Okay,
So I'm
right.
good.
all right. Well, Ben, I know you, at least, I think Northampton, you have folks that will probably want to see it.
Yeah, and Will's in my office, so I'll just put it on his list and he'll take a look.
Okay.
But he can be second to you know, like be a second pair of eyes after your people
Okay.
do
All
the
right, that's
process.
All right, great. Okay. Then, so it sounds like we're, does anyone feel the need to, take more time with it, or are we good to just move forward with this process? Okay, great.
I'm ready forward.
Okay, Darcy, go ahead.
I just, you know, I haven't really, I wouldn't count this as my being able to understand this document, so having received it a half an hour before, I think we should at least leave some time in case, one of the three of us has some questions about it or suggestions at the next meeting.
So do you want to just, okay, so do you want to just have time to review it before the next meeting and finalize it at the next meeting?
I would, yes, just because I would not be able to to tell you that I'm super familiar with it since I've been looking at the minutes and not at the document.
Okay. Well,
You said, Stephanie, there's no rush on this because we don't have a lot of staff time, so what's
yeah,
the
so
difference?
I'm fine with that. If we want to put this on the next agenda to review it, one last time before we move forward with, yeah, why don't, because I think we should just focus on the scope of work before we get the whole final document. I mean, the final document is really only when procurement puts it in as a package. It'll be shared, but it's not necessarily being shared to be edited. It's being shared for informational purposes only, right? We won't be, we're not going to edit what the town has put together for the package to go out. The scope of work is the meat of what we want to see happen and what we're looking for. So the rest of it, that's kind of the boilerplate stuff, we wouldn't edit anyway. So this is the scope of work is what we'll share next week or next
Yeah.
meeting.
Not, I guess I would just want to make sure that it was kind of divided up according to what is needed for startup and then what is needed for ongoing operations.
I think it's,
Because startup is going to be the hugely heavier lift.
yes,
So for me, the question is like, if we can get past startup, are we good? So if somehow it can be, like in our JPE, I believe there was a section for startup. So yeah, because that's a lot of, hire the staff, all the different things, put the board together, and then it
Yeah.
just sort of runs after that.
Yes. I know that was in there. That was definitely something that was in my thinking when we were putting this together too. So in any case, Darcy, I suggest that if you want to look at this and discuss it more at the next meeting, then this gives you some time. Take your time with it, bring those comments to the next meeting. If there's something specific you want to suggest, just bring it to the next meeting. Okay, is that good? All right. So then we'll put this on the agenda for the next meeting, which, by the way, I think the next meeting is scheduled when I'm actually on vacation. So I wanted to, while we're all together, if we could find another, or maybe we've done that already. if we could find another day to meet the week of August 18th.
Yeah, I know, that's like the 1 week I won't be, well, actually, maybe I could come anyway.
Well, I mean, again, we could do it the following week. We've been meeting on Thursdays now at 1 PM, so I would suggest either the 21st or the 28th would be the following week. Why don't we just do it on the 28th? Will you be available then?
Yes,
Does that work for others? Are you, Bob and Ben, we really need you all here. Are you available on the 28th of August?
I'm sorry, I have craziness here to try to talk using this app on my phone. I'm not sure. I will be in Maine. We have a lot of people coming on the 28th. We have a lot of people coming on the 21st. So I'm a little unsure about my ability to commit, given all of that.
Okay, is it just those specific dates or like earlier in those weeks, like on a Tuesday? The 19th or the 20th?
Tuesday,
Oh, Darcy's away that week.
I can do it on Tuesday, oh God, what date was that? The 26th.
Okay. Ben, how about you? Oh, we can't hear you. You're muted.
Yes, both.
Okay. All right. So if we say Tuesday, the 26th at 1 PM, I just have to double check my work schedule to make sure I don't have another meeting conflicting on that day, but if I do, I'll just post, send something out quick for some time suggestions and you can just let me know what works. So for right now, we'll just say our next meeting will be on Tuesday, the 26th at 1 PM. So, but we have more. I know we have to do our Valley Green Energy check-in, so I just want to get that established for the next meeting. So, all right. Darcy, Andra, Adele, do you all have some Valley Green Energy updates that you want to, sorry, your Leah group, local energy advocate updates? Too many acronyms.
our next meeting is going to be in August and,
No, in September.
oh, that's what I meant, September. And we have a new recording up of, Solomon Goldstein Rose's presentation on geothermal power plants.
Great. Okay. All right. Anything else that you all want to update or comment on or?
I was just going to say to Darcy, so Solomon's dad has published and has done all these studies on nuclear power and has become an advocate for nuclear power as a green source of energy. Just to say, it might be interesting to sort of hear from him as well. I've talked with him about it, and it's kind of fascinating. So I don't know what to make of all of it, but there it is.
Right, and you know that Andra is Solomon's mom too, right?
Oh, I did not.
Yeah, the nuclear thing, I still can't do anything with the waste. That's my issue with that.
Well, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Oh God.
Yeah, no, I know. And because there's it's a lot of environmentalists are moving in that direction of
Yeah.
looking
So,
at nuclear again. I'm just saying personally, as someone with an environmental science background, I'm still concerned about the waste issue because there's still no way to deal with that. Yes, it's cleaner, but it generates a waste problem that
Yep.
And
We
I
should
know
all be,
Tony, yeah, it's all, yeah, I mean, it's all part of the
But here's
conversation.
the main thing. It doesn't matter because you can't build them fast enough and you can't
Mm.
build them cheap enough. You can build many more megawatts of solar power with battery storage at a lower cost than anything anyone's doing with nuclear anywhere in the world, obviously the US excluded because we can't do any of it. But that's more regulatory than technological. But
I
it's
didn't mean to sidetrack us on this because
Yeah,
but
I have,
I'm in favor of as much nuclear as you could possibly get if you could do it fast enough and affordably, and you
the
can't.
thing about the small modular reactors is that
Yes,
the idea is you don't design,
right.
custom design every single one, so that speeds it up ideally. And then there are some theoretically some
That's
models
the key
that
phrase.
use the use waste as
By the
their
time,
source.
by the time
Yeah.
we get any of these things, we have way overshot our carbon emissions.
Yeah, that's
If
why
we-
Solomon's focusing on geothermal energy.
Which
It's-
I'm
it's
all in
ready.
favor with. It is ready in some places, probably not here in New England.
You have to go very
Yeah.
deep.
Yeah, so again, we don't
But if you
have-
can't get wind for, 4 years
4
or
years is
more,
4 years is a short timeline compared to what any of these other projects are. I'm in favor of all of it.
yeah,
I
But
have,
rush.
Stephanie, I have extra copies of Joshua's book on nuclear. Shall I drop one by? Would you
sure,
be
yeah,
interested?
yes, no, thank you. I'm always, always wanting to know more. So, it's just a very deep-seated old feeling about it, but I'm, willing to shift my perspective. So, anyway, thank you all so much. So you have no other, Leah updates? I just want to make sure. And no one else, Ben or Bob, have nothing else to
Nope.
report on? Bob, thank you. That was a good little exchange. That was interesting. So thank you. Really appreciate you all. So our next meeting will be August 26th at 1 PM as of right now. Might
Okay.
change if I check my schedule, but I will let you know as soon as possible. I will resend this draft so that everybody has it with the agenda for the next meeting, as well as, I'm assuming Darcy, you'll send me notes. So send that all together, and I promise that I will get that sooner than I did this time. I just had a lot of other things going on this last month or so. So thank you all so much, and have a great rest of your summer vacation in the next month. Stay
Thank
cool.
you, everybody.
You guys too.
All right,
bye, everyone.
Bye.
bye.
Bye.